for taking the time to talk to me. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all. So would you like to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into music?
God, I've always been into music for as long as I can remember. Always sang. I mean, my family are Irish, so it's kind of, I think it's just in our genes. I first started with a friend of mine. We were in secondary school together, and her dad had a punk band called Instant Muscle, and we were his backing singers. He let us come in and go around and sing with him, and then that was it. And it was just always found just a really nice form of just being able to express yourself, you know, and always being able to channel anything into my work has been very therapeutic. And I went to school in Dagenham. And, you know, we had some really interesting art teachers, but I feel certainly in schools that aren't, you know, well, aren't private schools, the focus isn't necessarily on the arts. So, you know, lucky for me, I found Holly, and her dad was just this amazing artist, and we would hang out in Plumstead, and there was other bands that lived with him, Circulus for one. And they just really encouraged us. You know, we'd go down into the basement, they'd encourage us to pick up and play on the drums and scream down a microphone. You know, we were 14, 15. And then he was just like, oh, come on, girls, like, you know, you can come around and sing with us. And we did some pretty good shows. We were in that band, I would say, from 16 till about 18, 19. And then Holly and I did our own project after that. But, you know, really encouraging, you know, it's quite a hippie environment.
It's interesting that you point out the lack of funding in the arts in schools. It's so bad because so many people rely on it.
There's a massive risk that the arts is now going to become a space for the privileged. How anyone can earn any money within the arts, you know, especially with Spotify and now with AI generated art, you know, like, is that going to be the risk of the death of creativity? Especially if you're from a working class area, you know, and you're going to a school. You know, we can't only count on that one cool art teacher to lead the revolution. So, you know, we need to listen to diverse voices. You know, like the world is diverse, and I think everybody's, especially the way the world is going at the moment, we need to hear the voices from the diverse. It's like I always say in a comprehensive school, you know, if you ask why, they're like, oh, why are you asking why for? It's not really, you know, stop disrupting the school and all of this. You know, you ask why in private school, they're like, gosh, you should be a philosopher. It's amazing. So I definitely want to fly the flag as well for people from working class areas to show them that it is possible. I mean, I know Kate Nash has come out recently. She's been amazing and very vocal about, you know, she funds her career through OnlyFans. It's like, you know, this is where we're at. And look at her, she's huge.
It's so important that people speak out about it. And I think people are too scared. And then you get artists like you who are really, you know, taking it in their stride and going for it and not giving a shit, basically.
But every generation has had its problems. Every generation has had to fight for, you know, what they stand for and to change the landscape. And, you know, today it's that, but with nuclear. You know, it's like, right, we have to work twice as hard now. We're up against billionaires. We're up against, you know, social media. We're up against influencers. We're up against this like money machine. But, you know, I remember having a conversation with my friend, and she's an amazing artist, and she was shadow banned on Instagram. She's trans. And, you know, and I kind of looked around the room and I was like, why don't we just all not do it? No, there has to be some resistance. You know, how can we resist in what we're doing? If it is just adding this vocabulary to people, even just to say to them, like, come on, just stop and ask why. Like, why should it be that these people get everything? Why should it be this? It's not okay.
Where I said, if I'd make one person change their opinion on something, I've done my job, because then they'll go and change someone else's opinion. And you just have to be brave enough to just say something and question the system, because it's a domino effect.
And I really do see music and politics have had a relationship throughout the hands of time. You know, if you look at any social revolution, it almost has a soundtrack. You know, take rock and roll, take punk. You know, they were at the forefront of saying, look, this isn't all right. Let's change the masses' opinion. Let's, you know, get people just to ask why. Why is this happening? You know, this isn't what we're living through right now. This hysteria. This is not normal. We have to keep the faith. We have to say, right, what can we do, like in our communities, beyond, having each other's back. And, I believe with that, there is power. There is power in numbers, and I'm definitely at that way of thinking. It's like, okay, it hasn't been easy really any time. So we've always faced our challenges. Now in particular, Jane Fonda said a really good comment. She said, have you ever watched documentaries and seen people like in front of the batons and the dogs and thought to yourself, would I ever be that brave? Would I be that brave to stand there? She's like, well, we're in our documentary now. This is our time. This is our documentary. Like, let's go.
So before we go on further with this sort of topic, a couple of fun questions that I like to include. You could write a song with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I mean, I am putting out into the universe Patti Smith. I just keep saying it. She is just extraordinary. I watched her perform at Glastonbury and she was just badass. She has like this high priestess kind of energy where you're just like, I'll do whatever you want, Patti. Just like, tell me where to go. She would be my dream person, although I'm quite sure if I met her in real life, I'd probably turn into a bumbling mess.
If you, like, life or death situation, had to have lyrics tattooed on your forehead for the rest of your life, whether it can be yours, it can be someone else's, what lyrics would you get tattooed?
Oh my God, that is a hard one. Definitely a track that would evoke a "you can do it" kind of emotion. There's a Annie Lennox track. It was when she was with the Eurythmics, and it's called "No Fear, No Hate, No Pain, No Broken Hearts." Such a good tune as well. It's like powerful. The feeling of it, it's quite simplistic. It's kind of like leaning into halfway, like, I suppose, alternative rock, pop, a bit of electro. It's very synth heavy.
Could you describe your work in 3 words?
Okay, I would say evocative, empathetic, and strong. Find the strength within vulnerability. Down to every sound. I mean, I'm a big fan of a heavy bass line. I was a huge Black Sabbath fan at school in Dagenham, so you can imagine how that was. Little kid. So yeah, I love a heavy, repetitive bass line. I love bands like Massive Attack, like where you get it with trip hop. I'm a huge fan of trip hop. Just find like that the complexity within its simplicity as well, but it kind of evokes like heavy bass evokes like, come on, you can kind of do it hypnotic, and strings and horns to add some dissonance. It just is I think it's the perfect recipe.
When I came to see you at the release show, I always say this, every artist I've seen live is way better live than studio recordings. I think you connect to the music in a different way, you hear different things live, but the arrangements you did at that show, where it was slightly more jazzified than studio version, which I love. I think you get, like, so you get different connections with music when you do that. I mean, your vocals, I had goosebumps. I don't often get a physical reaction to music, and if I do, I know it's good. There's only a few things recently that have done that, and when I was watching you, the rasp and the rawness, it not only did it encapsulate the message in your music, and because your music is so raw and vulnerable and so empowering, but you made that room feel like an arena. Nice. I felt like I was front row at a big venue.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, and I don't think I've heard vocals quite like that for a very, very long time. And
Irish, the Irish.
Everyone just needs to understand how powerful the movement you create is, and not only the vocals. I'd love to touch on the stage design as well for a second.
Yeah, well, Josh Quinton, he's an amazing artist who I worked with on the Scream video. So he does everything by hand and collage. So we wanted to celebrate handcrafted methods of creativity within the AI era. I wanted it to be immersive, so to create that dystopian feeling. And Dominic, who did his spoken word piece, he wrote that himself. It was his own commission. So, you know, for the whole night to just feel like you've been transported into this other kind of vortex world. And, you know, so I'm very happy to hear that resonates.
Yeah, it really did feel like I'd stepped out of London and stepped into the music video. That it was done.
Nice.
It was done so well, and the spoken word was brilliant.
He's such a talent. Dominic Combs, he's just extraordinary. He did another poem that you can find on his Instagram about when the school dinners, the £30 school dinners, when that was changed. It's honestly, every time I watch it, I cry. It's just such a beautiful piece of work.
The spoken word, not only was it moving and so accurate and brilliant, but the comedic side of it as well, the way he did that, and also he literally felt like a character.
Yeah, it's all about light and shade, you know. Like, so when you get people in, it's like, okay, that will make you think about that. Maybe if it made you sort of like, oh, but actually, yeah, God, that is, why are we just standing for this? Like, why aren't we saying that this isn't okay? And you know, the thing about the far right, and they mobilize, you know, they're organized, and within that they have a way in which of taking the left and tearing it apart, and they're becoming quite, you know, separate tribes, divide and conquer. You know, it's as old as time. So it's to say like to each other, like, you know, well, we need to mobilize, we need to come together, we need to say that this isn't okay, we need to shine a light on things, especially for, you know, the younger generation.
See, we mentioned that the stage design reflected the music video very strongly. Do you want to talk us a little bit about the creative process of the video?
So Josh and I have worked together on previous projects. He's really fantastic to work with. So the idea was really, the track itself is embracing individuality. It's like finding your voice, like scream out from the top of your lungs, like, come on, here we are, let's go. And how hard it is within today's society to have one sense of identity. We spoke about two characters, so it's especially within the digital age. So one that is her kind of outward phase, and then the other like real self. So if you notice the two characters in the video, the woman in the black, sort of more the trench coat, a bit more like rained on, kind of feeling the pressure. She's always observing like this like glamorous woman who's kind of out there, you know, just out into the world. It's the realization that they are the same person at the end, and she's trying to run away from her own identity. Speaking about how hard it is within the digital age, you know, to just, and to ignore all the smoke and mirrors around us, you know, to get weighed down in looking at me, oh, they're doing so well, this is happening, and just to have your own well-being, focus on yourself, and to say, look, you know, we're all enough. So we just came up with this dystopian idea, this like world of like dystopia. You know, one lady is there, like, just very on top of the world, and you know, she's kind of, but within that also having her own struggles. Having the two ladies kind of meet and then realizing that they are the same person. I also enjoy playing around with the idea of like and confronted by the patriarchy. So you can see that I'm also like this guy in a suit who's there and running one side of things. How Josh likes to work all by hand collage. You know, he does all of his illustrations. You know, no AI was used in the making of the video at all.
If you've watched the show Black Mirror, I think the video actually really reminded me of elements of that.
Yes, we were definitely going after that. We're definitely chasing the evocative element to the work, you know, to say, like, let's think about this, like, how does it make you feel having this persona online that is always put out? How does that make you feel in your day-to-day life? It's tough, and I can only imagine what it would have been like to go through puberty with social media. I mean, we just missed that boat, my generation, thank God. So, you know, I can't imagine. And, you know, it's just to say to people that are younger than me, and I'm down, you know, the can has been kicked down the road a bit, just say to people like, look, this is just, it's crap, don't buy into it, look after yourself.
It's refreshing to see that other creative sectors are also getting in
No,
on that.
that you're very right there. You know, it's always a relief to see that, okay, some things are getting made that are challenging this way of thinking. There are other creatives that are going away and working on stuff. Good, come on, like, let's put this stuff out there. This is like the you know, people's minds, what's happening today, how far people are going within things.
I sort of view your lyrics and obviously the themes you touch on. It's obviously not just you know, social media and AI that you've touched on. You've touched on postnatal depression and loads of other topics, but you're not just telling people like this is what's wrong. You're telling a story about it, and it's actually very, very poetic. Is there an intentional connection between your music and poetry?
Completely. You know, language is one of our greatest assets. You know, when anyone is saying when you see especially some images coming out of Palestine, people keep saying, oh, there are no words. It's like, find the words. You know, it's powerful to be able to find the words, and we have to. So yes, it's very much present and at the forefront of my mind to create work that is thought-provoking with its lyrics, with its the way in which the visuals. I get obsessed with the visuals, and you know, just to be a human being today, just going around and feeling things. It's like, you know, even though Scream is about individuality, it's about well-being and oneself, but hyper-individualism has really been very detrimental to how we live our lives. Now, with regards to the postnatal depression project, I wanted to shine a light on it just because I had been the main source of support for so many of my friends and some of my family as well, and seeing just how a conversation like, look, you're going to be all right, and how pathologized they are, you know, and we may feel like this problem, and then after they have the child, the feeling of isolation that comes after that, because we aren't in the mentality of it takes a village. You know, we don't think like that anymore. It's like, oh, celebrate, look, she did it all on her own. It's like, yeah, but now look, she's broken. No, this is bollocks. So it really wound me up, especially when it came to my final person that I was like, right, enough is enough. Like, this is insane. Like, why isn't this like ingrained in society that we look after pregnant women, that they are very vulnerable when they've just had a baby, that even going outside to the shop, people can feel spiky, you know, your body can feel this change. It's just not in our psyche. It's like, come on, like, look around you, have a bit of empathy. Like, all it takes is a smile in a shop, or be like, oh, hey, do you need any help? Like, you know, things like that. That makes a huge impact on somebody's day-to-day life. You know, it's about the small actions that we can take to better somebody's, you know, existence in that moment in time, their feeling, especially when it comes, I mean, with pregnant women and postnatal depression and how common it is. That's what's alarming, you know, where it's like that this is so common and so unspoken about. So that's I'm really happy that you brought that.
Herd mentality, and it takes a village to raise a child and everything like that. We need to look at it in a wider thing, not just within, you know, having kids and things like that. It takes a village to make a change.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do it by yourself. You need to get your voice out first of all, so someone else will hear it and they'll spread it. And everyone needs to come together
and avoid this celebration of hyper individualism. You know, it's like it's not making us happy. This way of arranging ourselves hasn't made us happy. It hasn't brought us happiness. That's like, this is like base level life.
One last question. Obviously, we've spoken about some of the previous topics that you've covered in your work. What's coming next? Where will your musical journey take you? What issues are you going to talk about?
Some exciting stuff cooking away. One that I showcased called Apple of Her Eye, which was one of my newest songs that I performed at the show that you came to. This track, I mean, I don't, you know, you can get way down in, but it just seems to happen with when I write. This just seems to come into fruition. This is challenging privilege. There's some more fun tracks on there. I've got a track called Pussycat, which is just very sexy, and you're coming out, you just want to feel sexy and have fun with it. So I've been working with Hannah Holland. So she's fantastic. Also in conversation with a few other artists to come on board. So, watch the Space Babes. And then as well, I'm going to revisit working with David Hughes, who did the video for Die Young. So we've got some fun ideas that we've been bouncing around for Pussycat. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck in and getting the next EP and then hopefully the next album.
I'm really excited to see where you go. But anyone that's watching this, if you already follow Fi's career, keep going. If you've never heard of her before, look into it, listen to the stuff. If you want to make a change, which I know a lot of people that are involved with Loud Women and read Loud Women will want to do, then this is the space for you.
I mean, fundamentally, my advice is just to keep making the work. If you're a creative and you want to be a creative, just keep making the work. Make it, because then it gives you your own sense of self. It's just keep making it. Just keep putting stuff out there. Just don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just focus on you make your work. Ignore the smoke and mirrors, and see where it takes you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking to me today.
I really appreciate you talking to me as well. Have a good day, babe.